for this YouTube live broadcast. 5 ways to defeat passivity. Hey, before I get into the content today, I want to just say this, that my book, Fully Convinced, The Art of Decision Making, is now available on Amazon or available soon on our ignitinghope.com platform. I believe this is one of the most important books that I have written. It's a book about attaching great faith to who we are and what we do. So the book, Fully Convinced, The Art of Decision Making, is ready. And I believe, again, it's a now book. It helps us overcome doubt, insecurity, guilt in our lives, and really to become fully convinced in who we are and what we're deciding to do. Faithfulness is not just showing up, it's how we think when we show up. We show up full of faith. And so that book is available, and our course, Fully Convinced, the Art of Decision Making, is also on our ignitinghopeacademy.com platform. And it's a great course that uses the book, 8-week online course. It is really, again, I'll just say this, the content, and some of you are aware of it, some of you have already done the course. It is, I believe, a now word where there's so much doubt, double-mindedness, confusion, anxiety. It's a good one. All right, so, hey, today we're welcome those who are watching on YouTube. If you're on our Facebook feed, I just want to make sure you're aware that we are building a library on our YouTube channel right now. And if you haven't subscribed to Igniting Hope on our YouTube, please consider doing that, because that will just build our family there. But today, I want to talk about 5 ways to defeat passivity. Now, let me just read a definition of what passivity is. Passivity is the trait of lacking enthusiasm or interest in things. It is evidenced by a spiritlessness, numbness, apathy, and indifference in life. It is illustrated by the person with one talent in Matthew 25. His fear and poor beliefs about his master caused him to overlook ways to increase what he had been given. He was not celebrated, but was rebuked for his passivity. The single talent he had was actually given to the one who increased the talents given to him. Now, many Christians, many believers are passive because of an overemphasis on the sovereignty of God and an underemphasis of their own role in God's will being done. Let me say that. Many Christians, many believers are passive because of an overemphasis on God's sovereignty and an underemphasis on their role in God's will being done. The fear of pride, the fear of self-promoting, the fear of greatness causes many to bury their talent. Now, just the religious perfectionism and the fear of looking like a failure, again, neutralizes many and creates passivity. And I want to remind you that in the Old Testament, the Old Testament, there were literal giant beings standing in the way of the promised land that needed to be defeated. In the new covenant, we don't face literal giants, but we face mindsets that need to be defeated. And these mindsets can be unworthiness, they can be fear, impulsiveness, discouragement, disappointment, victim mindset, pessimism. But one of them is passivity. It's passivity. And it is a mindset, it is a stronghold that we are to defeat, and we have the privilege of defeating. Now, I'm going to give you 5 ways today to defeat passivity in our lives. 5 ways. And it's great to have Arlo on here, Suzanne, Jessica, joining us live. And by the way, I hear over the 3 of you that the Lord's going to speak to you through 1 Samuel 14, the story of Jonathan and his armor bearer. And I hear over you and also hear over Sarah that the Lord's going to supernaturally connect you with people like never before, key people. And just as Jonathan and his armor bearer created a revival by themselves, there's going to be a revival that's going to be started through your key connection with another person. You may already have that, and the Lord's going to re-highlight or highlight that to you, or it's coming. It's coming. Now, all right, so 5 keys, 5 ways to defeat passivity. Number 1 is recognize it as an enemy. Recognize it as an enemy. Now, sometimes we just need to have our enemies pointed out to us. These are the things you need to defeat. Now, in Matthew 25, 24 to 25, it says this: Then he who had received the 1 talent came and said, Lord, I was afraid and went and hid your talent in the ground. Look, you have what is yours. As we read on in this story in Matthew 25, again, it doesn't end well for this person. Now, so as we realize it's an enemy, we believe that Matthew 25 is a message about the 1 talent guy to jolt us out of fatalism and lethargy. God needs our prayers. He needs our declarations. He needs our prophetic acts. He needs our risk-taking. He needs our writings. He needs our teaching. He needs our obedience. He needs our generosity. He needs our love to accomplish His will through us. Yes. So number 1 is we recognize passivity as a great enemy. Number 2 is we stir up the gifts already in us. We stir up the gifts already in us. in 2 Timothy 1, 6 and 7, it says, therefore I remind you to stir up the gift of God, which is in you through the laying on of my hands. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind. Oh boy. So, therefore, this is for 2 Timothy 1, 6. Therefore, I remind you to stir up the gift of God. It says in 1 Timothy 1:18, this charge I commit to you, son Timothy, according to the prophecies previously made concerning you, that by them you wage the good warfare. You wage the good warfare. These verses are just a small sample of the many verses which urge us to demolish passivity in our lives, to stir up the gifts, to stir up the gifts of God. We have gifts in us. And I mean, all of us have certain gifts, the same. We've got the gift of prophecy. We have the gift of prayer. We have the gift of love. And those things are to be stirred. They're to be activated. And then we all have unique giftings and callings to be stirred up, to be taken. And, you know, when we think about a toddler learning to walk, we realize that the gifts that we have, most of them we grow into. We grow into. And most of our gifts, we're not just going to start functioning in them at a high level when we first begin. We're going to need to just keep working at it. We're going to need to keep activating them. We're going to keep using them. We're going to need to have them practiced within our lives. Nancy, so good to have you and your husband joining us on a live. Woohoo! So we're talking today about 5 ways to defeat passivity. Number 1 is we recognize it as an enemy. Number 2, we stir up the gifts that are within us. And we can stir them up through use. We stir them up through act declarations as we declare over us. I remember I had to declare I was an author, that I wrote books before I wrote books. I declared that I went to nations before I went to nations. I stirred up the gifts that are within me. And again, declarations are a great way to do that. Plus, just practice. Speaking to ourselves. Number 3, way to defeat passivity is to listen to preachers, not just teachers. We listen to preachers, not just teachers. Listen to people who've got some fire. Listen to some people who incite you emotionally. It's one of the reasons I listen to T.D. Jakes a lot, or I listen to Chris Overstreet, Mario Murillo. These are 3 examples of preachers who are going to get an emotional response out of us. Preachers break off passivity. By the way, there's people who are listening to this right now who are preachers, or you're going to be manifesting, preaching in your ministry more than ever before. I believe that I'm a teacher, a revivalist, prophetic teacher, but I also recognize that there's a preaching gift on me, and I preach for emotional responses. And I believe that we need more preachers. And there's people who are watching me right now who are moving into a whole new season of emotion within and passion in your ministry. And I believe the Lord is giving you permission to experiment in your ministry, to use different voice inflections, to raise your voice, to be more demonstrative. And I see you experimenting with that. And you're going to find your preaching style is going to increase. You're going to break off passivity, even in how you deliver the word. Oh, boy. I love this. I love this. So we're talking today about 5 ways to defeat passivity. And we've shared already. Number 1 is recognize passivity as an enemy. Number 2, stir up the gifts already within you through declarations, through practice. Number 3 is listen to preachers, not just teachers. And I'm so glad, Jennifer, you received that. You are a preacher. Sarah, I say hi to your 6-year-old. What's his or her name? And then number 4, way to defeat passivity is give God something to work with. Give God something to work with. One of my goals in life is to give the Lord so much to work with that my angels need to call in reinforcements. My angels need to call in reinforcements and ask, say, man, any bored angels around? Yes. Everett, I say hi to you. And Everett, you are a preacher. Yes. So we give God something to work with. We do that. In John 2, Jesus did not create wine out of thin air. But he said, when they ran out of wine at the wedding, he said, give me those pots, put some water in it, give me something to work with. Passive people are waiting. They're waiting for God to do things. And certainly there's times to wait on the Lord. But I believe there's times to give him something to work with. It's in 2 Kings 4, when the widow was going to have her sons taken away by the creditors to pay off debt. To pay off debt. The prophet asked, what do you have in your house? She said, I've got a little oil. That was the key. We already have it. Feeding the 5,000. Give them something to eat, Jesus said to his disciples. What do you have? Well, we have a little fish. We have a little bread. Well, that's all we need. We give God something to work with. And I believe for you today that the Lord is going to increase what you give him to work with. Certainly prayer, the very act of prayer and connecting with the Lord and supplication and asking is powerful. Declarations are giving him something to work with. Encouragement to other people is giving him something to work with. Doing a blog is giving him something to work with. Doing a YouTube live is giving him something to work with. I wrote my first book, Igniting Faith in 40 Days, with my wife, Wendy, and it was just a compilation of devotionals that I'd already written for the back of a bulletin. it was not perfect. Our first book had some typos in it. It wasn't pleasing to the eye, but it gave God something to work with. And I found out that book ended up in Nepal. It ended up in Asia. It ended up in the hands of so many people. More people ordered it than I thought would order it. And it was a step. And I remember when I was writing my books and starting websites and all of that, I had this conversation with the Lord and said, God, this feels selfish. And he said to me, Steve, it's selfish if you don't give me something to work with. It's selfish if you don't write the book. It's selfish. You're going to bury your talent. I need something to work with from you. Despise not the day of small beginnings. Despise not the day. Yes, we give God something to work with. We're talking today about 5 ways to defeat passivity. Number 1 is we see it as an enemy. Number 2, we stir up gifts already within us. Number 3, oh, I love that. David, you declare you're going to be at Kingdom City Church in Alberta. Click. Love it. You're giving him something to work with there. Number 3, listen to preachers, not just teachers. Number 4, give God something to work with. And then number 5 is restore. Vision for the future. Restore vision for the future. Philippians 3:13 says this, Brethren, I do not count myself to have apprehended, but one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forward to those things which are ahead. Reaching forward to those things that are ahead. Wow. We all have those things. I mean, Paul said, one thing I do, forgetting those things that are behind, reaching forward to those things that are ahead. We all have those things. And that's really what vision is. Vision and hope are linked. The definition I love to share on hope is the belief that the future will be better than the present, and I and we have the power to help make it so. Hope and vision are linked. It says in Proverbs 29, without a vision, the people perish. Without a vision, the people cast off restraint, it says in another version. And when there's no vision for the future, we become passive. We become tired. When we move into survivalism, we move into fatalism. But when we have vision that we can make things better, that we are significant, that we are important, that good things are ahead, that we're reaching forward to those things that are ahead, that vision then gives us energy and it breaks off passivity. Vision for the future gives power and purpose for the present. I wouldn't do a YouTube live like this unless I had vision that I could help people, that it was important, that it was part of what I'm supposed to do. And so even right now, I see the Lord. Even right now, and I love this questionnaire, and if anybody else has a question who's on the live feed, please feel free. But I just see the Lord releasing vision over your life again. And we say, well, how do we get vision? Well, just get in your prayer closet and start interacting with Holy Spirit and ask him to reveal to you the uniqueness of yourself, the gift of who you are. Ask him to give you a cause that you burn for to make a difference in. Then go to other people that you trust, people who believe in you, and ask them what they see in you, what giftings, unique giftings that you have, what they see you making a difference in the future. Record those things. Listen to them over and over and over again. And Aaron, your question, how do you start hoping and visioning something you don't know what it's about yet? Well, I mean, you don't need to know specifically, even though my suggestions that I just gave you are going to be powerful. I mean, one of the things that we do at Igniting Hope Ministries is that as you listen to our messages, as you participate in our courses, as you read our books, it's going to build hope in you for the future. And then as you get hope in a general sense, as you believe the future is going to be better than the present and you believe you're significant, then God's going to get specific. And people say, well, how do I know what I'm called to do? How do I know what cause I'm to burn for? How do I know? Well, here, I've got a few suggestions for you. Number one is, what makes you angry? What makes you cry? What thing do you believe the church should be talking about more? Why aren't they talking about that more? Well, hello, that's probably a calling that you have. It's a calling that you have. Lori, great to have you on here. Great to have you on here. And what makes you come alive when you talk about it? What makes other people come alive when you talk about it? Well, that's probably, again, an area of your own vision. Yes. So today we're talking about 5 ways to defeat passivity. If you've just jumped on, let me just repeat them again. Let me just tell you what passivity is the trait of lacking enthusiasm for or interest in things. It is evidenced by a spiritlessness, numbness, apathy, and indifference in life. It's illustrated by the person in the parable of talents in Matthew 25 who buried his talent. And 5 ways to defeat passivity is: 1 is recognize it as an enemy. Number 2, stir up the gifts already within you. Number 3, listen to preachers, not just teachers. Number 4, give God something to work with. And number 5, restore vision for the future. You know, even as I'm sharing this and as I begin to wrap this up, even as I share this, I see people who are watching live. I see people who are watching the recording. And I see that there is a grace that's coming upon you in this season where there's going to be an energy that is being released in you and through you that's going to break passivity off of other people around you. That you're gifted. This ministry, Igniting Hope Ministries, is a passivity breaking ministry. Yes. Wow. And Aaron, thank you for that encouragement of that our ministry is bringing you hope. I love that. And just tell other people. Tell other people about this ministry. And we have, but I'll say it again over you. Whatever you need, give it away. And prophetic ministry, encouraging ministries are passivity breaking ministries. Hope bringing ministries are passivity breaking ministries. We've got some great things coming up in our Igniting Hope world on December 9th. My wife, Wendy, is doing an all-day Feasting on the Spirit event that's going to be happening. You can find out about that at ignitinghopeacademy.com. Wendy's Feasting on the Spirit all-day event. And then Wendy is going to be doing a 5-month great thing at the Academy of the Unseen Realm, starting January, at the beginning of January. And then Wendy and I are doing a 2-day marriage event with our team. And on February 10th and 11th, that's going to be happening. We're doing our annual Negativity Fast Positivity Feast. It's starting in February. We have so many things, so many opportunities for you, plus our weekly podcast, free podcast and blog that comes out. If you're not signed up for our newsletter, you can go to ignitinghope.com and you can do that. And we're going to be in Round Rock, Texas this weekend. Beginning of January, we'll be in Caldwell, Idaho. At the end of January, we will be in Ohio. And if you're ever able to find us or come to one of our meetings, please come up to us and say, hello. I'm part of the Igniting Hope family. Hey, we pray for you. We love you. We're thankful for you. If you're new to our ministry, welcome. If you've been with us for a long time, Jenny, praying for you for medical as you're going through that. And we're so thankful for you. Yes, Suzanne, Texas, Round Rock, this weekend. My, oh my. So good, Nancy. You're doing Feasting on the Spirit. And you're reading, let's just laugh at that for kids, with your kids. Wow. Love that. Hey, thanks so much. Look forward to being with you again on another episode here on our YouTube Live of Igniting Hope. God bless.